Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. So we have finished talking about the heart, for good and for bad, the good, the vices and the virtues of the heart, and that is really the essence of this whole spiritual discourse. The other things, which are the disobedience of the body, they're all in a sense secondary to that, but they're all important as well. And this is kind of almost where the inward meets the outward. So he mentions first of all the disobedience of the stomach. Okay, so the vices of the stomach. This includes the consumption of riba, of usury essentially, and drinking any intoxicant, consuming alcohol or drugs or anything that we consume. He also mentioned consuming. He mentions also consuming the wealth of an orphan. Allah specifically mentions that aklu mal al-yatim, meaning that you are given responsibility of a child who has wealth, is an orphan, and you can use it for yourself. That is a serious disobedience of the stomach in the sense that you consume, you eat, or you consume from that wealth, and it's going to spiritually damage you. Serious, as Allah says, that they consume fire in their bellies. The people that consume the wealth of an orphan is consuming fire in their bellies. That's the reality of it. And all foods and drinks which Allah has forbidden, haram. We're all familiar with those kind of things, but it's a kind of it's what you put in your stomach. Again, has an effect on the heart and has a spiritual effect. God and His Messenger curse the consumer of riba and whoever helps in its consumption. So riba is a serious issue, the usury, and everyone that's involved in that whole process, they all there's a curse upon them. And unfortunately, we live in that system where it's everywhere, but we try our best to avoid direct contact with it. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam cursed the drinker of wine and whoever helped him in its drinking, including the one who sold it to him. The whole process, the one who gets the grape, who grows the grapes and is involved in the process of making the wine, then who makes it into alcohol and then sells it. All these people are seriously in trouble. That's the stomach. The tongue is there's many vices of the tongue that Imam al-Ghazali mentions 20 in the Ihya Ulumuddin. He mentions 20 different vices. So many things to be aware of. Backbiting, which is mentioning something bad about someone in their absence. Were they there, they would not be happy to hear that. That's ghiba. And then, even if it's true, it's still ghiba. Even if it's true about them, you're not making up lies. You're telling something about them which is they would hate to hear. That's ghiba. Okay. Then there is namima. Okay, there's another serious thing which is it's translated as slander here, but it's actually more tale bearing, which is conveying information to someone with the intention of causing division and causing hatred. So you go to someone and say, this person is saying this and this and this X, Y, and Z about you, and your intention is only to arouse in that person resentment or hatred. So you now put people who are getting on fine, you've now put some kind of enmity or hatred between them. That's very serious. And anything, if you look in that Sharia, anything which causes division between people, which causes hatred between people, is very serious in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's another one. Namima, as I said, followed by al-kadhib, okay, lying, and that's everyone knows lying is wrong. Even children, we teach our children the dangers of lying and how destructive it is, and it's a contradiction to be someone of iman, and faith, and then to lie and to be dishonest and to profess one thing and then to say something else is very serious. And also cursing and verbal, any type of verbal abuse of someone, harming someone with your tongue. All of these are very serious things that we are just as much as we hurt by physically, we're also hurt by what people say about us and the words that people use. And la'an is curse, is actually praying for someone to be distant from Allah, and that's very serious. We should never do that, however bad that person is. Just you could have, instead of saying those words, you could have used them to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to seek forgiveness from Allah, to send salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Instead, you busy yourself with these things. So those are vices of the tongue which are very serious, which have implications socially and in many different levels. They affect our heart, they affect our faith, they affect everything. And then he mentions the vices of the eye, disobedience. So that we can disobey with our tongue, we can disobey Allah with our tongue, we can disobey Allah with our eye, because the eye is like a window into the soul. Okay, what you see has an effect upon your heart. All of us have seen the movies or adverts, and the images are still there somewhere. We may have seen some kind of thing. It sticks in there. It has an effect on us. It has an effect on our iman. Has an effect on our state. So we have to guard our sight. And why does Allah tell us to lower our gaze? Very clearly, He says to the believing man to lower their gaze. He says to the believing women to lower their gaze, because the eye has such a powerful, the vision of certain things has such a powerful effect on our states. What you see, what you absorb it, and it has an effect. So, for example, looking upon members of the opposite sex, you're not allowed to look at. Okay, if you're a man looking at women, you're not allowed to look at. Even worse if it's pornographic. But even just looking at women, you're not allowed to look at, has an effect. Looking at looking at what's private, or what's constitutes someone's private property, or even their awrat could be there, even their private parts. It depends how you translate it. But anyway, regardless, looking at the haram is very destructive spiritually. And looking down upon Muslims, or looking with scorn at a Muslim, looking that's another very dangerous. Looking down. So it's disobedience to the eye, but really it's something in the heart that you're looking with your eye, but it's a kind of arrogance and superiority that you feel in your heart. Allah protect us from that. Looking into someone's property without their permission, it's another kind of disobedience of the eye. Then the ear. So we're just going through these very briefly, but the ear is essentially how do you disobey Allah with your ear? Is by listening to all the things that it's haram to say. Okay, listening to someone lying, listening to someone backbiting, listening to someone tale-bearing, because that person wouldn't be able to say those things where you're not listening. So you're like an accomplice, you're like a partner in crime. That person, if there was no one there to say anything, they wouldn't say it. But you're there listening. You may say, it may say something to do with me, but you're giving that person the opportunity to say those things. So listening to those things is haram, just like saying them. So you should either tell them to stop, or change the subject, or walk away, but don't be an accomplice in that. Vices of the hand. So these include cheating while weighing and measuring. Okay, that maybe literally with the scales, like in the old days, or maybe fiddling the accounts, or whatever it is. Fraud. Okay, deceiving, stealing, and all other forbidden actions. Such as killing or hitting someone without legitimate reason. So any kind of harm that you do with your hand, and these are the great acts of disobedience. And again, so all of it comes back to the harm. Acts of disobedience harm the heart. Okay, they harm your heart, they harm your spiritual state, and they're also serious offenses against Allah and against others. Feet. Okay, how can you disobey with your feet? Is to using them to walk to places which are displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you go with your feet to a place which is haram. You go to feet to walk to someone, to tell them to backbite, or to lie, or to cheat, or to spread tales or rumors, whatever it is. Or go to, even worse, go to a place where you're going to harm someone or kill them. Na'udhu billah. the feet, the feet are actually responsible. Obviously, it's not meant literally the feet, but your feet are enabling you to get there. But it's really the heart. You've decided in your heart and your mind that you're going to go and kill that person or harm that person. That's what you take into account for. But your feet are like almost like helping you in that, or accomplices in that. Finally, he mentions the ma'asi al-farj, which is the private parts. Obviously, those are extremely serious. If we actually get there, the idea is if you guard your tongue, or you guard your gaze, those are means which lead eventually. If you don't guard them, they lead eventually to you committing crimes with your private parts. A'udhu billah. So that's why Allah says, "La taqrabu zina." Allah says, "Don't go close to zina." He didn't say "La taznu." He didn't say don't commit zina. He said don't go close to zina. Don't be in the places where zina might arise. Don't be with the people that might lead you to commit zina. Okay, don't look. The glance is like the first spark, and you look at someone, you get attracted to them, and then you start talking to them, and then you start, and then. But to cut off the means to that first, so you never even get into that position. Na'udhu billah. But the acts of the private parts are well known, such as I mentioned zina, sodomy, masturbation, other such things. So those are things which obviously some are worse than others, but they destroy our deen as well. And this kind of modern idea of as long as I'm not harming anyone, as long as everyone's consenting, then it's all fine. They're consenting adults, and we say no. These things destroy. These things harm your soul. They harm your soul, your heart, and your soul. And you won't be the same person that you were before committing those things. Okay, you can make tawbah, and then Allah accepts and Allah washes. But they harm us, and they make it hard for us to get to all the other things we're talking about of practice and of faith, and because those things are very serious in Allah's sight. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from them. And then there's vices of the whole body, such as disobeying or going against one's parents, disrespecting one's parents, such as fleeing from the battlefield. These are the grave sins which involve the whole body. Okay, such as cutting the ties of kinship, such as harming other people, wronging other people, oppressing other people. So those are bad. He's really mentioned he's mentioned in this section. He's really mentioned all the grave sins that we need to avoid, starting with the sins of the heart, but then also avoid the sins of the body. So he's mentioned consuming alcohol and zina and so on. And he's mentioned uquq al-walidain, which is disobeying and going against one's parents, such as cutting the ties of kinship. These are all serious sins that the Prophet ﷺ emphasized, the kaba'ir, grave sins that will be destructive, that will harm us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from them and from all wrong and all harm. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.